market kind of rolled over. Now, some of that was like Jamie Dimon coming in and saying there was some economic hurricane, which is also full of shit. But we'll see what's going on here. We do have this is the level we'll have to just we'll have to trade around. The Fed is now that it's taking liquidity out of the market. We don't necessarily know like what the ramifications are. It's about $100 billion a month in general between treasuries and everything. The action yesterday was okay though. Like you still had a lot of range. What we just need to do is find out, like, are we in this kind of scenario where we get like spikes in the market and then, there's like selling that comes in, as people push in for liquidity or not. We'll see. On the overall basis of just like charts, right? Like if you're just looking at the chart of the Qs, it doesn't look so bad over here. Like, you would say maybe we're rounding out over here over its EMAs. So we'll have to kind of be just careful of this. This is like, this, you can kind of call this a flag on the daily. You could almost call this right on the shorter term time frame, maybe like a little bit of a mini head and shoulders on the 15-minute. So we'll have to see like which way it starts to congeal. Just keep an eye around the kind of this 304 zone. If we kind of bust through that, then that'll probably start a little bit of the cascading going on. And maybe we come back and fill this gap here and be really mindful. Like sometimes, I forget this too. Like when the market's like kind of flushing off, or even if it does or doesn't, when the market's flushing off, like, oftentimes you'll come back into like previous levels, right? And, you'll want to pound on the shorts and then, you end up getting kind of a little bit of a rip stick. So, be mindful if we go red over here, which it looks like we are, and we fill this gap, like, you want to make sure, like, as you start coming back into these levels on the daily chart, does that start to see any hold coming on? Because you might end up with a hanging Chad or a double Fugazi, midday, and right where you like think it's like, okay, you're rolling over, and then you just end up going back the other way, and you and Chad are doing the dance, and that's not a fun dance, right? Like there's nothing worse than a fake bear flag that turns into a hanging Chad, that turns into a Fugazi, that turns into a double Fugazi, and now you're going both ways, but no ways except down, right? And that's kind of sometimes that's been happening. We got to be a little bit careful of that. Let's take a look and see if we got any earnings plays out. So this from Repair Therapeutics gets $125 million up front, blah blah blah. These kind of little guys have been peaking up. We've seen one or two of them go every single day. It could be from, right? Like it could be from anything, but in general, like when you look at all this, you want to be super mindful. Like these things have been going. You can play something like this if the liquidity's there. You had TNXP yesterday. This is, if you like these little guys, like they are starting to peek its head around as the market's starting to stabilize. You could roll with it. Not my particular cup of flavor. I don't think it's like a necessary thing to have to trade that stuff right now. PDSP, so this thing's got a PR up, right? You're gapping right into resistance. Like these are the ones that tend to get dusted. Good old Chewy. Okay. So you got triple upgrades, quadruple upgrade, quintuple upgrade, six-tipple upgrade, seven-tipple upgrade. Reports lower, profit, shares right after hours. You got a little bit of a rounding that's coming out of here, and it's been basing out for about a good month or so. Now, in this market condition, like, can it hold up probably at a 16% pop? Probably not. But we've seen this a lot, like where they start to grind down into some support, and then like you forget about them, and then next thing you know, like they start to pick up some steam a little bit later. Frankly, the float is not huge on this. Like it could probably do an ORB, but I think probably the good earnings plays, like I think the ones that like set up properly, in this market that still have been holding is like a little bit more like kind of how PDD did it, where like you get the gap up on the earnings and you're like, all right, things are looking good. And then, right, it just dumps off. and then like you start to kind of hold and grind and right, and then it takes you a little bit of steam before it starts to power through, and then it picks up some steam. That's probably a good good comparison for what probably could roll with Chewy, because you got that similar setup on the daily. But we are in the weird market conditions, like the market's already starting to dump off right now, right? So that may need to pull back a little bit on the Chewy and start to congeal a little bit. And once it starts to hold, then you can do a little bit more of a little show and go. You do have like this thing was like $200, right? So like, of course, their earnings are going to be probably dog shit. Like, I would be surprised if anybody reads them, right? Because like everybody's probably going to know that they are going to stink. So you got already 1 million shares in volume. This is going to be probably that could probably work. I wouldn't chase it up 16%. You'll have to see how it handles. Redcock Entertainment. Come on, you're right. Pure Storage Incorporated is Pure Storage lost wide as revenue surges. Shocker. Microsoft just gave a little bit of a warning too, little fuckers. You know what? Why can't they wait a little bit till they know I'm on they know we're on the Zoom right now. We're talking. I can't be just multitasking. They want to start warning while we're doing this shit. That's fucking bullshit. Who do we talk to about that? PSTG. Man, this one might be illiquid. I'd roll with it right now and add it to the list if the liquidity comes in. I'd be surprised if it does, but you never know. Hey, this path, Unipath, smaller expected loss, revenue rise. Hey, this is the type of play that also could work. You got a little base breakout over here. It's already up about 10%. That's probably, this type of setup has been working in the earnings season. Let's add that. Mungo Bungo. Goldman Sachs. Piper. Good. So Mungo Bungo reports higher earnings, revenue issued, blah, blah, blah. Right? Another kind of basing action over here. I'd add that too. Now, Mungo Bungo is going to trade like super thin. So we may probably not get like a shot at it at the open. But like we definitely want to be a piece of something like this too. If the market can hold up, I think that one will be just fine too. FCX. Let's see. Some of these commodity stocks, US Steel, CLF. Okay, so that's just a little run into commodity. Of course, Microsoft has to take down. Natural gas still kind of bouncing off. Yeah, you can. By the way, if anybody trades natural gas futures, this is a good trend you can do. All right, so you see like a lot of these kind of like metal stocks are starting to round up. So you got, at least frankly, may turn into swings at some point here. You're starting to see them on, right, a remount on FCX. These are a little bit these aren't the best day traders. They are day tradable, but they're not necessarily the best day traders around. PDD holding up a little bit here, right? You've got a rest day yesterday. Also, this is like a classic inside day. If the market can hold up, then that's probably something that also will get some play back and forth. It's not tight enough to probably get the big rip stick that you're looking for. It's more of a scalpy McGee. When it tightens up, like when the 9 tightens up on it, then that's when it turns into something that's like, a little bit more meaningful, from a scalpy McGee to essentially like a real trade. So when you have like a trend on a stock, you can keep day trading it, but like those are typically like scalpy McGee's. What happens is, like, if you have like, say, a big level or a setup on the daily chart, like I have a confirm flag pattern, confirm flat top breakout, confirm 50-day moving average bounce, confirm 90 EMA bounce, whatever it might be, then that's when you have like a meaty trade. But until you have that set up on the daily, say it's just trending or looks nice or strong, then those are just scalpy McGee's, right? And so scalpy McGee's are just your in and out, hit and run. And that's going to be very, very different than like, okay, I have a pure alignment on multiple time frames with, right? Hey, I got set up on the daily and I got to set up on the intraday. So I noticed that sometimes people hold stocks too long. One of the reasons people hold stocks too long is they're not properly understanding when you're just doing a scalpy McGee versus, when you're supposed to put the boots and the coots on a stock and really lay the wood, and you're like on the day one of the move, or right, you're cutting the goose of it. And that's when you can kind of change around your position sizing and stuff like that, from like, hey, I'm buying 1,000 shares of this or shorting 1,000 shares of this, to, hey, I'm willing to risk 2 days worth of losses on one trade because this is not a scalpy McGee. This is, right, an annexation of Puerto Rico, and that's much hotter. Does that make sense? Good. There's a difference between annexation of Puerto Rico and scalpy McGee. You get one. I'll give you a prime time example. Like, like there was that day, right? Like if you guys remember, like when Tesla, like in the market was getting shit upon, right? But there was a day right here, like where Tesla had like this, like, right, big level. And like you kind of had your 90 EMA starting to curl down a little bit. But like if you remember, like it was like, we were looking at this even on the hourly and, whatever. And like there was that level had been just holding for like, so many hours, right? So many days and days and days and days and days. And it's just been kind of testing it and testing it and testing it and testing and testing it. So like this particular day, it actually opened up strong, and it was like slightly green on the day, very little though, right? It was like 5, 6, 7 points or whatever it might have been. And then like the rug just got pulled, right? So now that you have this like big level, and then you have, right, that's your daily idea. Then you have a green to red on your intraday. So that's not a scalpy McGee, right? That's a annexation of Puerto Rico, where you're like, okay, say you have a $2,000, $3,000 a day max loss, or whatever it might be, $500, $1,000, whatever, right? But that in that particular case, you might say, you know what, like that's an all-in setup, meaning I'm willing to size in and risk my whole day's worth of losses on XYZ type of setup, whether it's scaling in or just one shot, one kill, or whatever it might be. So you step up the size on those, and that's usually how you can get like a little, that's how you change your returns slightly. Where most people like, okay, I'm just oversizing. Like, for example, like, right, we trade NVIDIA every fucking day, right? But like, those are like at this point, right, just like scalpy McGee's. We haven't had really like a traditional, right, daily setup on, NVIDIA since, maybe like over here, right? Or like over here. So like, you have like different kinds of things. Like right now, like we're just kind of like, this is just a jumble of stuff, but we trade it every day. So those are like scalpy McGee's. You're doing, 200, 300 shares or whatever it might be according to your account size. But if you had like, say, for example, like something more like this, then like for that particular day, like especially if I can nail something intraday, I might go from 300 shares to 3,000 shares and just go for the kill, right? And so you'll notice, like even in like shitty like markets or whatever, you have to have like, when I'm going on a total tangent here, but you have to have like 1 or 2 days, every month, and usually 1 day a week, where you just have like a very, very, very big elongated day of gains. And that just comes from, proper position sizing, of knowing when you have, scalpy setups versus, right, when you have something that's a little bit more meaty. I digress. But since probably nobody's going to, probably everybody should be attempting to do something like that at some point, as you get a little bit more experience and kind of understanding how much you can risk per day, and according to your account size and skills and stuff like that. I would do anything for love. And these guys can't catch a break, huh? I used to love trading this stuff. $4, $14. Damn. Well, fuck it. We can keep shorting this, Piggy. Yeah, you can keep shorting this. Let's add that to the list. HP. Twilio getting dusted on a downgrade. You know what? I just got no luck trading this thing, but whatever. Junk. Dave starts reviewing with $24 price target. So these downgrades, you know what? This is probably, due for a little rollover too. That's a daily trader for us at this point. This will be the big tell. So on your 6 windows that keep Microsoft up, if this gets dusted, then, we have really no choice. We got to probably short the whole, it can roll over the whole market in general. We'll know the true strength of the market and whether like this last few days, of like kind of bullish turn actually means something by today. If the dip gets bought today, right? Like if the market actually handles Microsoft's warning, goes green, even if it doesn't have like a huge day, but just kind of digest that news, then we probably have the semblance of a short-term bottom. And what I mean by that is that when markets turn, it's usually you get hit with really bad news and the market ignores it. It says, fuck it. Like we already know, right? And you saw that like in the coronavirus times or, any kind of big market pullbacks, like the news will get worse and worse and the market will just stop. Market will just shove it off because they're like, well, yeah, we know, and you see that individually in stocks too. Like when they're tanking, the news will get worse and worse. But then at some point people are like, well, this thing's $5. Like we know it's a turd. Like the fact that you're telling us it's a turd makes us like it. It makes us think it's chocolate. Right. And next thing you know, your hands smell like shit. You're eating turds, but you're like, whatever. It's free. It's cheap. I'm into it. And it's also a good source of minerals. And so here I am. I'm doing it. Right. And so we'll see that a little bit today. If we start to kind of hold here on the cues, and Microsoft's just getting dusted, then, we know like, okay, probably the market, at least for a short-term basis, is, rebounding. Now, we don't know that, right? Like when Netflix warned and, some of these other companies did that, the market got fucking shamangled. But we're at much lower prices right now, so we'll see what's going on. But I think today's going to be a very key day. We'll trade around this 304-ish zone and see like what's up. If the market does get volatile, then we'll just end up playing, if the market doesn't ends up getting volatile, then we can just play the big boys and everything will run just fine. If the market actually holds up, and goes red to green and, this turns into like a flag, then, we're going to have to change around our tactics and we'll want to go into something, with some of the more speculative type of stuff that like everything's been running, you've got pretty much everything around that's been going. So let's take a look at just some other stocks that, we could probably let loose here at the open. Hey, this Affirm, I don't know what the fuck happened to it yesterday, but it, ORB'd and it had a really good $6-7 range. You're kind of testing around yesterday's lows. If this thing busts below it at the open, you'll probably get a nice quick hitter out of this thing. I think that'll be that's going to be that could be a potential good short over here. Maybe we get this thing back down into the 20 spot today. I think we got a good God-fearing Christian setup right there. Oh. Armando, summer bounce. I don't know, right? I would say for you, especially if, the amount of capital you're trading, having big ideas is probably, for like multi-month might be a little aggressive. We don't want to go into that IWM situation you did in the beginning of last year. You get it, take it. But yes, we are oversold. We are oversold enough where, bounces do tend to start. The question is, was that the bounce? I don't necessarily know. Look, if we need any longs, we'll go with all these earnings plays. And then, man, we could take down the NVIDIAs of firms, AMDs, fuck Baba, but there's nowhere to hide. There will be nowhere to hide if Microsoft gets dusted today and it takes the Qs down. The only things that are holding up right now are these commodity stocks. Crypto's getting fucking small again. This will be fun. Let's get our 6 windows ready. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go have some fucking fun today. All right, you know how the drill is. Stay safe. Protect yourself. It's your body. Your body, your choice.